Wow, an 18-year stint comes to an end with one tweet out to the world saying John Harbaugh has been fired, let go.
Mutually agreed.
John Harbaugh out in Baltimore. Ian Rappaport of NFL Network went on his show, Insiders, last night on the NFL Network and said, yep, a lot of guys didn't like him in the locker room. That's basically what it came down to. The ownership kind of found that out later as it went on. We'll hear from Schefter in the second hour at about 1:30 Eastern Standard Time to hear what he's hearing about the entire situation. Hell of a run over there, though, Coach. Honestly.
Oh, yeah, Coach.
18 years, very, very rare in the NFL. Very rare anywhere. And obviously, the only way you can do that is if you are one hell of a ball coach, and he certainly was that. I think we all knew what we expected from the Baltimore Ravens football team whenever Harbaugh was coaching it. That's Harbaugh football. We're going to be a tough team. We're going to be a hard-nosed team. Harbaugh comes from the special teams world, so we're going to be diligent in all three phases. I think we saw that out of the Baltimore Ravens a lot. Baltimore Ravens, though, very similar to Pittsburgh Steelers, who have Mike Tomlin there for 18, 20 years as well. Two staples of the AFC North, two staples of the NFL, who have been doing battle in a big way for very, very meaningful playoff spots every single year and AFC North titles for the better part of the last 2 decades. Fans kind of getting sick of the message. You know, some people say the coach will lose the messaging to the locker room. Well, I think you lose the messaging to the fans as well. When the fans give up hope and think that you can't win a Super Bowl anymore, they grow louder, especially in football towns, like in Pittsburgh, definitely like what happened here in Baltimore. Now, there's a lot of conversation about Tyler Luke misses a kick. There's a fumble at a half-yard line. There's a drop in the end zone. How come John Harbaugh is being punished so bad for this? I think this is potentially a good thing for both sides. I think John Harbaugh, who is now the belle of the ball of the coaching cycle, allegedly 7, 8 teams have looked into talking to John Harbaugh. He gets a chance to rebuild, which I think a Harbaugh person enjoys doing. Jim has moved multiple times and had to build up a bunch of programs. John really hasn't had the opportunity to do that because he had so much sustained success in one particular place. I think a fresh start will be good for John Harbaugh, and a fresh start for the Baltimore Ravens people. I think I'm excited to see who it could potentially be. But all of a sudden, John Harbaugh is the guy that everybody's looking to hire, and then you start looking at stats, and it's like, well, is Mike McCarthy also going to get looked at the same exact way? Are we about to see second, third chapters of guys becoming something very special in this hiring cycle? There is certainly a chance. We made a graphic about the NFL coach pool right now, and it is certainly a very large pool. Yep. And then if you look at the very back of this pool, there's a high dive. Don't look now. There's maybe a college coach who people are calling the greatest football coach of all time, potentially taking a 30-meter leap right up there into the pool with all these NFL coaches that are certainly out there being talked about. You know, Ben Johnson, the last couple coaching cycles, he was the guy. He was turning down jobs going back to the Detroit Lions. Then it was like, well, which team is going to be lucky enough to be chosen by Ben Johnson? He picked the Chicago Bears. It worked. All of a sudden this year, there isn't really the Ben Johnson. There isn't really the, this is who you should hire. This is who you have to hire. For a long time, the coaching cycle was need an offensive guy, need an offensive guy. Oppenheimer came up with this one. He split the atom. If you hire an offensive head coach who calls the plays, then if your offense has success, nobody is going to poach your offensive coordinator because your head coach is there. And so you're going to be able to maintain that. You maybe just have to replace the defensive side, but if you have the offensive side figured out, that's good news, especially with the success of Sean McVay and other offensive gurus and everything. Feels like leadership of men is going to become a main requisite for who you hire. Not necessarily on the offensive side, not necessarily on the defensive side, but if you get some dogs in there, potentially the teams are going to run a little bit harder. Look at what happened in New England, Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel's actually telling players, star players, shut the fuck up on the sideline, and then talking shit to him immediately afterwards, and then they're dapping up and winning and doing something that we were hoping would never happen again in New England, which has become dominant again like a dynasty. So whenever you're looking for your next head coach, I don't think anybody knows who's the right pick this year, but I think the one thing that they should be looking for is who can lead a group in the same direction. And we're going to need somebody to be able to do offense. Because if the quarterback's ass and the offense is ass, your chances of making it, ass. So good luck to all the teams, and good luck to Harbaugh on his next voyage. Now, you saw that pool. There was a couple names in there that people were like, who is it? Who is it? Shane Steichen's in there because allegedly...
What's that about?
What?
He's coming back.
Listen, this is the coach's pool, okay? We just took a picture of it. All right, we're just telling you what's potentially possible out there. And that could be another coach that currently has a job. But Harbaugh allegedly has had a team that still has their coach and didn't make any announcement about firing a coach, calling his team saying, hey, what you think about? So Schefter was alluding in his tweet basically like, there's teams who were going to keep their coach and potentially even their GM as well that now hear about John. I'm not saying the coach are anywhere near that. I'm just saying it could. Yeah, got a lot of good history with Baltimore. Things coming from Baltimore to Indianapolis. Things work out. Harbaugh family. Harbaugh's up in the Ring of Honor. The brother is there. I'm just saying maybe they think about it. Maybe they think about it. Maybe John Harbaugh does that. Or maybe it's another team and a fan base that thought, we're doing status quo, we're staying the exact same. And now all of a sudden, John Harbaugh is available, and ownership goes, wait a minute, that is exactly what we are looking for where we are at. Let's go to the toxic table at Boston Connor and at Ty Schmidt. Con, man, you look a little different today.
Yeah, locked in. I mean, all this talk you're, mentioning about the offseason and about, coaches being higher places, that's cool. I'm locked in on the playoffs because I got a game. Ty's got a game. He's in his, entire get-up with the Green Bay Packers. This is my game day game, okay? This is the playoffs. This is a classic Nike Tech playoff fit, okay?
Yeah, it is.
So, look, I'm jacked up.
Pittsburgh Steelers taking a victory lap because they basically got Baltimore Ravens' John Harbaugh fired. And Father Maximilian Maxwell, I heard he's doing a little bit of this.
Yeah.
Let's head to Hammer.
Todd.
Your thoughts on a massive shakeup in the AFC North? I'm 38 years old. You're 37 years old, I do believe. Large portion of our football lives here, John Harbaugh has been representing the Baltimore Ravens, who have been battling with the Pittsburgh Steelers in a huge way. Used to have citywide pep rallies whenever they were taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Mikey and Big Bob would have a pep rally the Friday before we played the Baltimore Ravens. Come on, Dahn, swing a sledgehammer at a Baltimore Raven car that we're going to tear up. Like, that is what the Baltimore Ravens Pittsburgh Steelers was for a large portion of our lives. And Harbaugh and Tomlin were that, feels like, Tone. And this is a huge move that I think was almost being forecasted by these insiders before the final game of the season.
Yeah, as you pointed out, we were both in college when Tomlin and Harbaugh were hired. And seeing the pictures of them from their first game to their last game is insane. It is a huge shakeup in the AFC North. But as you were over these last couple weeks, and we kept talking about it, and you picked up on what the insiders were saying, we're like, yeah, Tomlin, not so sure, but Harbaugh is definitely the name to watch. And who knows what reporting is real, whether he wouldn't get rid of his coordinators, or if the players didn't disagree or didn't agree with him, or if it was just, hey, you've been here for so long, things haven't gone to what we wanted to as far as winning a Super Bowl with Lamar. Maybe it's just time for a change. But I had a thought last night, watching him, leave the Ravens organization, and how. The Ravens organization should be so grateful for what he did for them, win a Super Bowl, all the AFC Championship games, AFC North titles. Just being a good team for that long is insane. And it's going to be really, really hard to replace him. I don't know what kind of hire they're going to go with. I don't know if it's going to be offensive for Lamar or try to fix that defense and what was going on the last couple seasons there. But it's going to be huge shoes to fill, in the AFC North.
Yeah, I agree. Huge shoes was an aggressive decision to go with. I appreciate your brain doing that for you. On that note, would you be saying or being thankful for Ravens fans saying Steelers fans need to be very, very thankful for for Mike Tomlin and what he did for the Pittsburgh Steelers immediately upon the exit of Mike Tomlin, if this was to go the other way? Because that's kind of how it was being talked about. Mike Tomlin, it wasn't really being talked about him being fired. It was more so I think Coach Tomlin will make that decision also. Look for him to maybe get into TV. TV was being talked about a little bit too much there. And then we immediately start thinking about Coach Tomlin on TV, and it's God would be the greatest. And the amount of money that people are, streaming platforms are trying to get sports audiences right now. They're investing in NFL. They're investing in live games. Who has a resume that's great? Well, obviously he does. That's why this conversation's even happening. Who is an incredible talker about the game, leadership, storyteller, everything basically. It's him. So you start putting together he's going to TV if they lose this game.
Yeah.
And then on the Baltimore side, Harbaugh's going to leave if they lose in this entire. And they were even saying the day after Harbaugh gets fired or leaves Baltimore, he'll have 5 jobs lined up. And I guess that's exactly how this is kind of all gone. They've almost been telling us this for a month now, feels like, Toad.
Yeah, they have. And yes, last night when he got fired or whatever, it did make me think about Tomlin and think hey, whenever this run is over, yes, I know there's been the criticism, and it's come from me. It's come from everyone over the last 5-7 years or whatever, how long it's been since the Killer Bees. That hopefully there is an appreciation for what a person has done for 2 decades as a football coach in your city. But no, it's insane. I mean, yes, and they said the same thing about Tomlin and Harbaugh. If they get fired, they're going to have job offers the next day. And you saw it happen with Harbaugh. Teams with coaches are calling Harbaugh to see if he potentially has interest, are the reports. And yes, I believe Tomlin would be the same way, but that doesn't mean that it shouldn't have ended in Baltimore, or if it does end in Pittsburgh, it doesn't mean it shouldn't end in Pittsburgh. It just means that there's such a good coach that somewhere else they will improve the situation at somewhere else much more.
Well, also, I think there is a freshness.
Yeah, for sure.
I think there is a freshness to professional sports in which it's a meritocracy. Joining us now is a man who played for Coach John Harbaugh over there in Baltimore, a 12-year NFL vet, Super Bowl champion player coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, former Baltimore Raven, Arizona Cardinal, Pittsburgh Steeler, Philadelphia Eagle, and Indianapolis Colt. Ladies and gentlemen, AQ Shipley. Hey, Q, tell me about Coach Harbaugh. Obviously, you played for him over there in Baltimore, had great times. I think you, from my understanding, big fan of Coach Harbaugh.
Huge fan of Coach Harbaugh. I think he's phenomenal. I think his messaging has always been consistent. And what you get when you get Coach Harbaugh is the same principles of an Andy Reid team. Remember, he came from Andy Reid's team and system in Philadelphia. He goes down there and built a culture built on defense, toughness, special teams, all three phases. But listen, the guy's a winner. He's averaging 10 wins a season over his 18 seasons. He's been phenomenal. Their defense hasn't been up to par the last couple of years. Their offense obviously let them down a little bit this year, and then obviously the special teams at the end. But this guy's an absolute animal head coach that anybody would be happy to have.
Well, I think it's what it sounds like is people are certainly looking into it. He's still lifting, too. I think Ray's still getting under the bar and all that shit.
Big time.
Harbaugh.
Do you think he's you think he's the last, guy to probably go from special teams coordinator to head coach? It feels like that does not happen very often anymore.
So I think with kickoffs being more important now, I think special teams coordinators that are really good, I think will start getting a conversation. But on that note, it's going to be a tough gig, even then.
Yeah.
Like, that was a very abnormal hire. John Harbaugh, special leader, I think, is the way they kind of viewed it in Harbaugh family, kind of known as being great coaches. Special teams, although the coordinators talk to everybody, every day, basically, have relationships with all three phases, are good at making decisions, right? Critical situations, game situations, game management, because normally that affects special teams somehow, whether it's a kick, a punt, or hey, we need to get out, we need to stop the whole thing. So I think they are normally very good candidates in theory, but I think it's hard for the ownership to pull a trigger if they don't have like an offense person sitting right there and they know the quarterback thing. I think it's a tough decision to make for people, which goes back to Harbaugh being that was a special hire for them. And then him being there for 18 years. Job well done. I like the move for both sides. I know it's not good for the family he's going to have to move. They've been there for almost 20 years. I assume they're a staple in the Baltimore community. Joining us now is a man who might have an idea on how this goes. Remember, he was staple in a city and gets up and goes somewhere else. Guess what he does there? Oh, becomes a staple in a city as well. Sometimes legends are just legendary no matter where they're at. Maybe that'll be Coach Harbaugh's story wherever he heads.